Clara Winters pressed her face against the frozen train window, watching her reflection blur through tears she refused to let fall. 26 years old, unwanted, sent west like spoiled goods her family couldn't sell. The letter in her pocket promised a rancher named Daniel Morrison, a widower who needed help, not a wife. She'd answered it herself, desperate, lying about everything except one truth: she had nowhere else to go. The train whistle screamed. Colorado Territory waited. And Clara had stopped believing in second chances. Stay until the end and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Clara's story travels. Hit subscribe so you never miss what happens when two broken people find each other in the coldest winter the Territory has ever seen. The basket hit the floor. Fabric spilled across the parlor doorway. Clara's mending scattered like her composure. Inside the room, her sisters went silent. Clara. Josephine recovered first, face flushing. We were just discussing my sale price. Clara's voice came out steady, cold. What's father getting for his spinster daughter? I'm curious. Catherine at least had the grace to look away. Josephine lifted her chin. You're being dramatic. Am I? Clara stepped into the room. You just said father's marrying me to Mr. Blackwell to pay his debts. That's not drama, that's livestock auction. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth. Clara felt something crack open in her chest. 26 years of swallowing shame, burning away in an instant. You called me the family's greatest burden. Said no one would ever want me. Was any of that a lie? Silence answered her. Clara nodded slowly. That's what I thought. She turned and walked out, leaving the mending where it fell. Her father's study smelled like pipe smoke and broken promises. Thomas Winters didn't look up from his ledger. I didn't send for you. I know about Blackwell. Now he looked up. Calculation flickered across his face quick as lightning. Your sisters talk too much. Is it true? He set down his pen with deliberate care. Marriage is a practical arrangement, Clara. You're old enough to understand that. I understand you're selling me. I'm securing your future. By wedding me to a man twice my age who's buried 2 wives already. Heat climbed Clara's throat. What happens when I'm the third? You're being hysterical. I'm being realistic. She pulled the folded newspaper from her pocket, smoothed it against her skirt. Her hands shook. She willed them steady. Rancher seeking wife. Widower with young daughter requires capable woman for marriage. Honest work, fair treatment. Colorado Territory. Her father's face went carefully blank. Mail order nonsense. An alternative. To what? A respectable match with a respected businessman. To dying in a house that hates me. The words came out quiet. True. I'm leaving father, with or without your permission. You have nothing. No money, no prospects. I have grandmother's inheritance, $50. That won't even get you to... It'll get me on a train. Clara met his eyes, saw him recognize something he'd never seen in her before. I answered the advertisement 3 weeks ago. The rancher wrote back. He sent money for passage. I leave tomorrow on the morning train. Thomas Winters stared at his youngest daughter. For the first time in her life, Clara watched him see her as something other than a disappointment. This Morrison fellow, he said slowly. You know nothing about him. I know he's honest. That's more than I can say for the men here. If you do this, Clara, if you go through with this insanity, don't expect to come back. I won't need to. Her father's jaw worked. Then, surprising her, he opened his desk drawer and pulled out a small leather purse. Counted out $20 additional. For emergencies. His voice roughened. In case you need to get away from this rancher if he's not what he claims. Clara took the money. Their fingers brushed. Just for a moment she saw something in his face that might have been regret. Thank you, father. He nodded once, turned back to his ledger. Dismissed. Clara left without another word. Child. Packing took an hour. 3 dresses, serviceable plain. 2 shifts. Her grandmother's music box wrapped in a shawl. The journal her mother had pressed into her hands that morning with shaking fingers. "Write to me," her mother had whispered. "Not your father. Me." Clara folded her morning dress, the one she'd worn when grandmother died, and thought about Daniel Morrison's letter. She'd read it so many times the paper had gone soft. "Miss Winters, I'll be direct. I'm 38 with a 6-year-old daughter who needs a mother. My first wife hated ranch life and died resenting me for it. I won't repeat that mistake. I need a partner who understands this is work, not romance. Someone honest who won't quit when things get hard. If that's you, send word. If not, no judgment. I won't lie to you. I expect the same in return." Daniel Morrison. Brutal honesty. No false promises. No pretty words hiding ugly truths. Clara had spent her whole life drowning in pretty lies. She sealed the trunk and sat on it, waiting for dawn. The train station was chaos. Clara stood on the platform, watching her mother twist a handkerchief between white-knuckled fingers. Her sisters hadn't come. Her father had said his goodbye at home, stiff, formal, already trying to forget her. Only Elizabeth Winters had insisted on seeing her youngest daughter off. "Last chance," her mother said. Not hopefully, just stating fact. "I'm not changing my mind. Colorado is so far." "That's the point, Mother." Elizabeth's face crumpled. She pulled Clara close, fierce and desperate. "Be strong. Be brave." Her voice broke. "Be happy, Clara. For once in your life, be happy." Clara held on tight. "I'll try." The conductor shouted final boarding. Clara climbed the steps, found her seat, looked out at her mother standing small and alone on the platform. Elizabeth raised one hand. Clara raised hers. The train lurched forward. Pennsylvania began sliding away. Clara didn't cry, wouldn't let herself, but she pressed her palm to the cold window and watched until her mother disappeared. 4 days on trains that smelled like coal smoke and strangers. Clara watched America transform. Pennsylvania's farmland gave way to Ohio's factories, then Kansas prairie that stretched forever grass and sky and nothing else. She kept to herself. Read until her eyes burned. Tried not to think too hard about what waited at the end of the line. On the 3rd night, somewhere past Kansas, a woman across the aisle leaned forward. "You traveling alone, dear?" Clara glanced up. The woman was 50-ish, weathered, kind-eyed. "Yes, ma'am." "Heading west to meet someone?" Not prying, just knowing. Clara hesitated, then nodded. "Thought so. I did the same thing 20 years ago." The woman smiled. "Answered an advertisement for a Montana rancher. Everyone said I was crazy. Maybe I was." She shrugged. "But I got 3 children, a good man, and a life I built myself. Could have done worse staying in Boston." "Were you scared?" The question slipped out. "Terrified." The woman laughed. "Still got on the train, though. You know why?" Clara shook her head. "Because scared and trapped isn't the same as scared and free. At least when you're free, you've got a chance." She settled back into her seat. "Good luck, dear. You're braver than you think." Clara carried those words into Denver. Denver hit her like a fist. Noise. Mud. Buildings thrown up overnight, false-fronted and defiant. Cowboys and dusty chaps lounged outside saloons. A Chinese man pushed a laundry cart through the street. 2 women in split skirts strode past carrying rifles like it was nothing. No one stared at Clara. No one whispered. She was just another soul heading west, and the West didn't care what you looked like. "Help you, miss?" The voice belonged to a weathered woman behind the counter of a general store. Clara had wandered in half-dazed, drawn by warmth and the smell of coffee. "I need..." Clara hesitated. "I'm going to Morrison Valley. Is there anything I should know?" The woman's eyes sharpened. Morrison Valley. "You wouldn't be headed to see Cole Morrison, would you?" Clara's breath caught. You know him. Know of him. Most folks in the territory do. Runs cattle up in the high country. The woman studied Clara with new interest. You family. I'm going to be his wife. Saying it out loud made it real. Terrifyingly real. The woman didn't blink. Mail order. Heat crept up Clara's neck. Yes. Don't look embarrassed, girl. Half the women out here started that way. She came around the counter. You'll need warmer clothes than what you're wearing. Winter in the mountains isn't kind. 20 minutes later, Clara walked out with a wool coat, thick gloves, and boots that could handle snow. The woman had practically forced them on her. Cole Morrison's a good man from what I hear, she'd said. Fair, honest, lost his wife few years back. Probably lonely as hell up there with just a kid. He has a daughter. Children need mothers. Men need partners. The woman wrapped the purchases. You work hard and stay honest with him, you'll do fine. Clara nodded, throat tight. One more thing. The woman leaned close. Town ladies will have opinions about a mail-order bride. They always do. But remember, most of them came out the same way. They just like to forget. Clara carried that warning onto the smaller train that climbed into the mountains. The world turned white. Snow started an hour outside Denver light at first, then heavy until Clara couldn't see 10 feet beyond the window. The train car swayed around curves that dropped into nothing. Her stomach lurched. First time in high country. The man across from her wore a sheepskin coat and a Texas drawl. Yes. Storm's coming. Big one. He nodded at the window. Hope whoever's meeting you knows these roads. So do I, Clara said quietly. The train pulled into Morrison Valley as afternoon died into evening. Through the snow, Clara could barely make out the town, one street handful of buildings, everything battened down against the storm. She stepped onto the platform. Wind cut through her new coat. Her trunk thudded down beside her. The platform was empty. You being met, miss... The station master was grizzled-bearded with ice. I'm supposed to be. Mr. Morrison, from Morrison Valley Ranch. Cole Morrison. He'll be along. Ranch is an hour out. Storm probably slowed him. The man squinted at the darkening sky. You're his new bride, I take it. Word traveled fast. Clara nodded. Well, welcome to Morrison Valley. Coffee's inside if you want it. Clara waited. An hour passed. Then another. Through the frosted window, she watched the town shut down lights winking out streets emptying. Even the saloon went quiet. The station master dozed by the stove. And Clara stood at the window watching snow bury the world, wondering if Daniel Morrison had changed his mind. Then she saw movement. A wagon emerged from the white curtain of falling snow. 2 massive horses. A driver hunched against the weather. The wagon stopped. The driver climbed down stiff and ice-crusted. Clara's heart hammered. The door swung open. Cold air rushed in. And with it, the man she was going to marry. Tall, taller than she'd expected. Broad shoulders. Hands that looked like they could break things or build them. His face was all hard angles and weathered skin beard frozen with ice. Dark eyes narrowed against the wind. He looked like a man the frontier had marked but hadn't broken. His gaze found her. Held. For 3 heartbeats they just stared at each other across the small office. Then he pulled off his hat. Miss Winters. His voice was deep. Rough. Mr. Morrison. Clara's voice came out steadier than she felt. Clara. Cole. Most folks call me Cole. He cleared his throat. I apologize for being late. Storm came up faster than expected. The station master explained. Your trunk outside. Already loaded. He nodded. Seemed to be gathering words. We should go. Storm's getting worse. Another hour and the roads will be impassable. Now. The station master stood. Cole, it's full dark. Which is why we leave now. No room for argument in that voice. I've got a daughter at home with just the foreman. I need to get back. He looked at Clara. Really looked at her. Assessment, not judgment. Can you ride in case the wagon gets stuck? I've never ridden a horse. Something flickered in his eyes. Then you'll learn tonight if you have to. Get your things. He turned and walked back into the storm. The station master shook his head. Welcome to the territory, miss. Clara pulled on her coat and followed her future husband into the snow. The wagon fought through drifts that came halfway up the wheels. Cole drove with grim concentration, hands steady despite the cold. Clara gripped the seat and tried not to think about the 1,000 ways this could end badly. Your daughter. She raised her voice over the wind. What's her name? Emma. She's 6. Does she know about me? Yes. How does she feel about it? Cole was quiet. Then, she's been asking for a mother since she was old enough to understand she didn't have one. The flatness in his voice suggested layers of complicated history. I'll do my best by her. That's all anyone can do. Silence settled between them. The horses plowed forward, breath steaming. Tell me about the ranch, Clara said. Not because she wanted conversation, because the silence felt too much like drowning. 3,000 acres, 200 head of cattle, 4 permanent hands. Cole's voice turned mechanical. Main house, barn, bunkhouse. Creek runs through the property. We're largely self-sufficient. What do you need me to do? He glanced at her. Something shifted in his expression. Keep the house. Cook for me and Emma. Manage supplies. He paused. The accounts need attention. My wife handled those. Since then I've been muddling through. I'm good with numbers. Good. More silence. The wind howled. Clara's hands went numb even inside her gloves. What happened to your wife? The words came out before Clara could stop them. She winced. I'm sorry. That's... Rebecca got sick. Consumption. Took 2 years to kill her. Cole's jaw tightened. She hated it here. Hated me for bringing her here. Toward the end, she hated everything. His voice was carefully empty. Too empty. So I'm looking for someone who understands what this life is, he continued. Someone who won't break when things get hard. Someone honest. I understand. Do you? He looked at her directly. Because there's still time to change your mind. I'll take you back to town, buy you a ticket east. No hard feelings. Clara thought about Pennsylvania, about Mr. Blackwell's wet smile, about 26 years of being the daughter no one wanted. I'm not changing my mind. Cole studied her, then nodded once. All right then. The wagon crested a rise. Lights appeared below 3 buildings clustered together. The main house was larger than Clara expected, warm light glowing from its windows like a promise. That's home, Cole said. And despite everything, the cold, the fear, the strangeness, something eased in Clara's chest. The wagon pulled up just as the door flew open. A small figure burst out into the snow. Papa, Papa, you're home. The child wore a coat too big for her dark braids flying. She launched herself at Cole as he climbed down, and he caught her easily, swung her up, despite obvious exhaustion. Told you I'd be back, Emma girl. I was worried Hank said the storm was bad, and you might... Emma stopped. Her eyes went wide. Is that her? Is that Miss Clara? It is. Cole set her down gently. Mind your manners. Emma went very straight, very solemn. Hello, Miss Clara. I'm Emma Morrison. I'm 6 years old, and I'm very pleased to meet you. The formal greeting so carefully practiced made Clara's throat ache. Hello, Emma. I'm very pleased to meet you too. Are you really going to be my new mama? Clara glanced at Cole. He nodded slightly. Yes, if that's all right with you. Emma's face split into a grin. I've been waiting forever. Another figure appeared in the doorway, weathered man, iron gray hair. About damn time, boss. His eyes found Clara. Ma'am, Hank Cooper Foreman. Welcome to Morrison Valley Ranch. Clara Winters. Not for long. Hank grinned. When's the wedding? Cole hoisted Clara's trunk. Tomorrow. Pastor's riding out at dawn. Tomorrow. Clara's voice cracked. No point waiting. Storm breaks tonight. If we don't do it tomorrow, might be another week. He started for the house. Come on, you must be frozen. Clara followed Emma, chattering at her side. The house was warm, massive fireplace wood stove crackling. Simple furniture, clean floors. The home of a man who valued function over decoration. Your room's upstairs, Cole said, already climbing. First door on the right. Emma's next to you. I'm across the hall. After Cole showed her the room, Clara stood alone in the small space. Clean bed. Window facing the mountains. Her trunk at the foot of the bed. This was hers now. This room. This house. This life. Downstairs, she heard Cole's deep voice, Hank's rougher one. Emma's bright chatter. The sounds of a home. Clara sat on the bed and let herself feel the weight of what she'd done. Tomorrow, she'd marry Daniel Cole Morrison. Tomorrow, she'd become a wife. A mother. Tomorrow, her life would begin. But tonight... A knock on the door. Miss Clara. Emma's voice small and hopeful. Papa says supper's ready. And I wanted to ask, would you like to see my doll? Her name's Sarah, like my first mama, and she's very pretty, and I thought maybe you'd like to meet her before we eat. Clara opened the door. Emma stood in the hallway, holding a rag doll with careful reverence. I'd love to meet her, Clara said softly. Emma beamed, took Clara's hand, led her downstairs like it was the most natural thing in the world, and Clara, who'd spent 26 years being unwanted, felt something crack open in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, she'd found where she belonged. Supper was venison stew and fresh bread. Clara sat at the table. Cole at the head, Emma to his right, Clara to his left, Hank at the far end. The arrangement felt significant, deliberate. Hank made the stew, Emma announced. He's the best cook on the ranch. Papa says so. Emma, Cole's voice held warning. What, you did say that? Hank chuckled. Boss can't boil water without burning it. Ain't no shame in that. There is, when you're trying to impress your future wife. The words slipped out before Clara could stop them. Silence dropped like a stone. Then Cole's mouth quirked. Almost a smile. Too late for impressions. You've already seen me half frozen and cranky. He spooned stew into his bowl. Might as well know what you're getting. Fair enough. Clara took a bite. The stew was good, rich, and savory. This is excellent, Hank. Appreciate that, ma'am. Hank looked pleased. You cook? I can manage basic meals, nothing fancy. Fancy don't matter out here. Just needs to be hot and filling. Emma tugged Clara's sleeve. Can you make cookies? My first mama used to make cookies, but Papa doesn't know how. Cole shifted uncomfortably. Emma, it's all right. Clara looked at the child's hopeful face. I can make cookies. We'll do it together if you like. Really? Emma bounced in her seat. Can we make them tomorrow after you marry Papa? I don't think... Cole started. Actually, Clara interrupted. That sounds perfect. Every bride should celebrate with cookies. Emma threw her arms around Clara's neck. The spontaneous affection hit Clara like a physical blow. When was the last time someone had hugged her like this? Like she mattered. Over Emma's head, Clara caught Cole watching. His expression was complicated relief, maybe, or hope, or just exhaustion from a man who'd been carrying too much for too long. All right, he said quietly. Cookies tomorrow. After supper, Emma insisted on showing Clara everything: her room with its collection of pine cones, the kitchen with its cast-iron stove, even the barn where a orange cat lived. Cole followed at a distance, saying nothing, just watching. Finally, as full dark settled and Emma started yawning, he intervened. Bedtime, Emma girl. But I'm not tired. Yes, you are. Say goodnight to Miss Clara. Emma hugged Clara again. Good night. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're going to be my mama. Good night, Emma. Clara's voice caught. I'm glad too. Cole carried his daughter upstairs. Clara heard him reading to her something about a princess and a dragon. His deep voice rumbled through the floorboards gentle, in a way she wouldn't have expected. Hank poured 2 cups of coffee, handed one to Clara. You're good with her. She's easy to be good with. Maybe. But you'd be surprised how many women can't handle children that aren't theirs. Hank settled into a chair by the fire. Rebecca couldn't. Emma was just a baby crying all the time. Rebecca couldn't cope. That's when things started going bad between her and the boss. Clara wrapped her hands around the cup. He said she hated it here. She hated everything by the end. The isolation, the work, him. Hank stared into the fire. She got sick, and instead of fighting, she just gave up. Like she was relieved to have an excuse to quit. That must have been hard on him. Near broke him. Not her dying, though that was bad enough. But knowing she hated him. That he'd made her miserable. Hank looked at Clara directly. That's why he advertised for a wife instead of courting someone local. Didn't want anyone who'd expect romance or happiness. Just wanted honest work. I can give him that. Can you? Hank's gaze was sharp. Because working a ranch isn't like working in town. It's dawn to dusk 7 days a week. It's cold and dirt, and sometimes things die and there's nothing you can do about it. It's lonely. It's hard. I'm not afraid of hard work. That's what Rebecca said too. The words hung between them. A warning. A test. Clara met Hank's eyes. I'm not Rebecca. No, Hank said slowly. I don't think you are. Footsteps on the stairs. Cole appeared looking worn. She's finally asleep. He crossed to the fire, poured himself coffee. Been running on nerves all day waiting for you to arrive. She's a sweet child. She's lonely. This ranch is no place for a kid without other children around. Cole's jaw worked. That's part of why I need a wife. Emma needs a mother. Needs someone who'll be there when I'm out with the herd. It should have stung being wanted only for practical purposes. But Clara had spent her whole life being unwanted for any purpose at all. Being needed even just for work felt like progress. I understand. Do you? Cole turned to face her. Because I need you to really understand, Clara. Tomorrow, we get married. After that, you're committed. This isn't a trial run. If you can't handle it, you need to tell me now. I can handle it. How do you know? You've never been west before? Never worked a ranch? Never mothered a child? You're right. Clara stood, set down her cup. I don't know if I can handle it, but I know I can't handle going back to Pennsylvania. And I know I'd rather fail at something I chose than succeed at something that was forced on me. Silence. Cole and Hank exchanged a look. Then Cole nodded. Fair enough. I should get some rest. Clara moved toward the stairs. Big day tomorrow. Clara. Cole's voice stopped her. Thank you for being kind to Emma. She's been hurt enough by women who couldn't stay. I'm staying, Clara said quietly. Whatever happens, I'm staying. She climbed the stairs before he could respond. Clara woke to darkness and voices. Cole's voice, low and tense, came through the wall. Don't care what the town thinks, Hank. I'm just saying, people are already talking. Saying you're desperate, that she's... She's what? Cole's voice went cold. Go on. Say it. Silence. Then Hank quieter. She's plain boss. Town ladies are already whispering, saying you could have done better. Better than honest? Better than willing? Cole's voice rose slightly. I don't give a damn what they think. She's here. She said she'd stay. That's all that matters. Clara pressed her hand flat against the wall, heart pounding. Just don't want to see you hurt again, Hank said. Rebecca's dead. and Clara's not her. Footsteps moved away. A door closed. Clara sat in the darkness replaying the conversation. Plain. Of course they thought that. Everyone always did. But Cole had defended her. Had chosen her worth over her appearance. That had to count for something. Dawn came gray and cold. Clara dressed in her best dress, the blue cotton, patched but clean. Fixed her hair with shaking hands. Stared at her reflection in the small mirror. Plain Nora Bennett. Plain Clara Winters. In a few hours, plain Clara Morrison. Same face, different name, different life. A knock. Miss Clara. Emma's voice. Papa says the pastor's here. This was it. Clara opened the door. Emma stood in the hallway, wearing a white dress that must have been saved for special occasions. You look pretty, Emma said shyly. So do you. Are you scared? A little, are you? Emma considered this seriously. No, I'm happy. I've been praying for a mama for so long, and then you came. She took Clara's hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Together, they went downstairs. The parlor smelled like wood smoke and coffee. Pastor Michaels was a weathered man in his 60s with kind eyes. Cole stood by the fireplace, freshly shaved, wearing what must be his only good shirt. Hank stood to the side, clearly uncomfortable in his role as witness. Cole's eyes met Clara's, held. For one breath, too, they just looked at each other. Then he crossed to her, offered his arm. You sure? He asked quietly. Last chance. Clara thought about Pennsylvania, about her father's study and Mr. Blackwell's wet smile, about 26 years of being the disappointment. She took his arm. I'm sure. They stood before Pastor Michaels. Emma bounced excitedly beside them. Hank shifted his weight hat in his hands. Dearly beloved, the pastor began. Clara barely heard the words. She was too aware of Cole beside her solid, steady reel. His arm under her hand was warm despite the cold house. His breathing was calm. He looked down at her once. Something flickered in his dark eyes. Not love, but maybe the possibility of it someday. Do you, Daniel Cole Morrison, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. No hesitation. Do you, Clara Winters, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? This was the moment, the last possible moment to run. Clara looked at Cole, at Emma bouncing beside them, at the house that needed someone to make it a home. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. Pastor Michaels smiled. Cole, you may kiss your bride. Cole hesitated. Uncertainty crossed his face, the first real emotion she'd seen from him besides careful control. Then he bent down slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His lips brushed hers, light, brief, over in a heartbeat. But his hands steadied her shoulders, careful and gentle. And for that one moment, Clara felt seen, chosen. It was enough. Congratulations, the pastor said warmly. May God bless this union. Emma threw her arms around both of them. You're married. You're really married. Does this mean I can call you Mama now? Clara looked down at the child, motherless, hopeful, already trusting. Yes, she said softly. You can call me Mama. Emma beamed. Cole's hand found Clara's shoulder, squeezed once, and Clara Winters Morrison, who'd spent 26 years being unwanted, felt the first fragile tendril of belonging take root. Outside, the storm was breaking. Sunlight pierced the clouds, turning snow to diamonds. Inside, a new family was forming. Imperfect, uncertain, but real. And for now, that was enough. The first test came before breakfast. Clara woke to darkness and the sound of boots on stairs. She sat up disoriented. The room was freezing. Through the window, she could see nothing but black, no hint of dawn. More footsteps, voices below. She dressed quickly, fingers clumsy with cold and nerves, crept to the top of the stairs. Cole stood in the kitchen pulling on his coat. Hank was already at the door, rifle in hand. How many? Cole's voice was tight, Hard to say in the dark. Maybe 10 head missing. Could be more. Wolves or thieves. Tracks suggest two-legged. Cole's jaw went hard. Wake Tom and Jesse. Tell them to arm up. We ride in 10 minutes. Boss? 10 minutes, Hank. Hank nodded and disappeared into the pre-dawn darkness. Clara descended the stairs. What's wrong? Cole turned surprise flickering across his face. Cattle missing. Probably rustlers. He grabbed his rifle from above the door. I'll be back when I'm back. Keep Emma inside. Lock the doors. Is it dangerous? Could be. He was already moving toward the door. Don't open for anyone except me or Hank. You understand? Yes, but... He stopped, looked back at her. Something softened in his expression. You'll be fine. Just stay inside. Then he was gone. Clara stood alone in the kitchen, listening to horses thunder out of the yard. The house settled around her creaking and strange. She was married 12 hours and already alone. This was ranch life. She needed to remember that. Clara lit the stove, put coffee on, found flour and started biscuits, because her hands needed something to do. By the time Emma appeared rubbing sleep from her eyes, Clara had breakfast ready. Where's Papa? He had to go check on the cattle. Clara kept her voice light. He'll be back soon. Is it bad, men? Too smart, this child. Clara crouched down to Emma's level. Your papa knows what he's doing. He'll be careful. But while he's gone, we need to be brave for him. Can you do that? Emma nodded solemnly. I can be brave. Good girl. Now eat your breakfast. After you promise to show me how to feed the chickens. It was a calculated distraction. It worked. They spent the morning doing chores, feeding chickens, collecting eggs, tidying the kitchen. Emma chattered constantly, filling the silence with stories about her dolls and the barn cat and a horse named Thunder, who was her favorite even though Papa said she was too young to ride him yet. Clara listened and worked and tried not to watch the road. Noon came. No sign of Cole. Afternoon stretched long. Still nothing. Emma grew quieter, started glancing at the windows. He'll be home soon, Clara said with more confidence than she felt. What if the bad men hurt him? Your papa is very capable. That's what Mama Rebecca used to say. Then she got sick and died anyway. The child's voice was matter-of-fact. Too matter-of-fact. Clara's heart cracked. Come here, Emma. The girl climbed into Clara's lap, small and warm and trusting. Clara held her rocking gently. I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen, Clara said quietly. But I can promise I'll be here, no matter what. I won't leave you. Emma burrowed closer. Mama Rebecca left. She didn't want to, sweetheart. She was sick. But she still left. Emma's voice went small. Everyone leaves. Clara tightened her arms around the child. I'm not everyone. I'm staying. They sat like that until Emma fell asleep. Clara carried her upstairs, tucked her into bed, came back down to the empty kitchen. The sun was setting. Still no Cole. Clara stood at the window watching shadows lengthen across the snow. Her imagination conjured terrible things: Cole shot, bleeding, dying alone in the snow. Emma orphaned. Clara stranded on a ranch she didn't know how to run. Stop it. Stop thinking like that. She forced herself to move. Started supper. Checked the doors were locked. Built up the fire. Just as full dark settled, she heard horses. Clara ran to the window. 3 riders approached through the dusk. Cole in front, sitting straight in the saddle. Relief flooded through her so powerfully her knees went weak. She had the door open before they reached the porch. Cole dismounted stiffly. Blood stained his sleeve. You're hurt. It's nothing. He brushed past her into the house. Rustlers put up a fight. We got the cattle back. Let me see your arm. I said it's nothing. And I said let me see it. Clara planted herself in front of him. You can be stubborn after I make sure you're not bleeding to death. Hank chuckled from the doorway. She's got you there, boss. Cole looked between them. Then, surprising her, he sat down and shrugged out of his coat. The wound was a deep gash along his forearm. Not life-threatening, but not nothing either. Who bandaged this? Clara examined it critically. I did. You did a terrible job. She fetched water and clean cloth. Hold still. She worked in silence, cleaning and rebandaging. Cole watched her with an unreadable expression. You're good at this, he said finally. I took care of my grandmother when she was dying. Learned basic nursing. Clara tied off the bandage. This needs to be checked daily. If it shows signs of infection, we'll need a doctor. There is no doctor. Closest one's in Denver. Then you'd better not let it get infected. She met his eyes. No more heroics until this heals. Can't promise that. Try. Something shifted in his face, almost a smile. Yes, ma'am. Hank cleared his throat. I'll just go check on the horses. After he left, Clara busied herself serving supper. Cole ate mechanically, exhaustion evident in every movement. Did you catch the rustlers? She asked. 2 of them. Sent them to town to face the marshal. He rubbed his face. The rest scattered. They'll try again. They always do. Why? Because cattle are money, and some men would rather steal than work. He stood wincing. I should check on Emma. She's asleep, worried about you all day. She say anything? Clara hesitated, then decided honesty was better. She said everyone leaves her. Cole's face went tight. Damn. She's scared, Cole. She's 6 years old and she's lost one mother already. I know that. Do you? Because charging off into danger without a word might make her lose you too. The words came out harsher than Clara intended. Cole's eyes went hard. I can't run this ranch from the kitchen. Cattle get stolen, I go after them. That's how it works. I'm not saying don't go. I'm saying maybe tell your daughter goodbye first. Let her see you're being careful. She doesn't need to know every time there's trouble. She already knows. Children always know. Clara faced him fully. She asked if bad men were going to hurt you. She's terrified and pretending she's not because she thinks that's what you want. Cole stared at her, then dropped into his chair, suddenly looking older than 38. Rebecca used to say I put the ranch before family. Did you? Yes. The admission came out flat. And it killed her. The loneliness, the isolation, feeling like she came second to everything else. He looked up at Clara. That's why I need you to understand what this life is. The ranch comes first because without it, we don't eat. We don't survive. I understand that. But Emma needs to come first sometimes too. Clara sat across from him. She needs to know you'll come home. That she matters more than cattle. She does matter more. Then show her. Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, moved toward the stairs. Where are you going? To show her. Clara heard him climb the stairs, heard Emma's door open, heard his deep voice gentle and low, and Emma's sleepy response. When he came back down 20 minutes later, his face was softer. She was awake, pretending to sleep. He poured coffee with his good hand. You were right. She was scared. What did you tell her? That I'm sorry. That I'll try to be more careful. That she's more important than any number of cattle. He took a sip. She asked if you were staying. What did you say? I said yes. Was I lying? Clara met his eyes. No, you weren't lying. They sat in silence, the fire crackling between them. Outside wind rattled the windows. The storm was building again. This is harder than I expected, Cole said quietly. Being married again, trying to do it right this time. It's only been one day. Long day. They're all going to be long days. He almost smiled. You're not what I expected, Clara. What did you expect? Someone quieter, more biddable. He shook his head. Someone who wouldn't call me out when I'm being stubborn. Sorry to disappoint. You didn't. He looked at her directly. You surprised me. That's different. Heat crept up Clara's neck. She stood busying herself with dishes. You should rest. That arm needs time to heal. Can't. Paperwork needs doing. Accounts are a mess. Then show me. You said you needed help with accounts. Cole studied her. Now, why not Emma's asleep? You're too tired for outside work. Might as well be productive. He led her to a small room off the kitchen, his office. Papers covered every surface. Ledgers stacked haphazardly. The chaos made Clara's organized mind itch. Good God, she said. I told you it was bad. This isn't bad. This is catastrophic. She picked up a ledger. When's the last time you balanced these books? 6 months, maybe longer. Clara sat down, pulled an oil lamp closer, started reading. An hour passed, then 2. Cole dozed in his chair, head tipped back, exhaustion finally claiming him. Clara worked steadily, making notes, reorganizing, beginning to see the shape of the ranch's finances. It was worse than she'd thought. Outstanding debts, missed payments, opportunities lost, because Cole had been too busy surviving to pay attention to business. But it wasn't hopeless. With attention and planning, she could fix this. Around midnight, she finally stopped. Her eyes burned. Her back ached from hunching over the desk. Cole was fully asleep now, breathing deep and even. His injured arm was cradled against his chest. In sleep, the hard lines of his face softened. He looked younger, less burdened. Clara stood carefully, not wanting to wake him. Draped a blanket over his shoulders. Banked the fire. Tomorrow, she'd show him what she'd found. Tonight, she let him rest. As she climbed the stairs to her room, Clara realized something. She'd been married less than 2 days, and already she was thinking in terms of we and ours. Already this strange place was becoming home. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it felt right. The second test came at church. Clara woke Sunday morning to Cole knocking on her door. Town service today. We should go. Let people meet you. Clara's stomach dropped. Is that necessary? You're my wife now. People will want to see you. He paused. Fair warning, there will be talk. Some of it won't be kind. Because I'm a mail-order bride. Because you're not from here, and because... He trailed off. Because I'm plain, Clara finished. I know. I've heard it my whole life. Cole's jaw tightened. Anyone says something directly to you, you tell me. I can handle gossip. I'm sure you can, but you shouldn't have to. The protectiveness in his voice startled her, warmed her. They drove to town in the wagon, Cole, Clara, and Emma bundled between them. The morning was clear and brutally cold. Emma chattered about her Sunday dress and whether Mrs. Henderson would have peppermints after service like she usually did. Morrison Valley's church was a small white building at the end of the main street. Already people clustered outside, ranch families, townspeople, everyone dressed in their Sunday best. Conversation stopped when the wagon pulled up. Every eye turned to Clara. Cole helped her down, his hand firm on her elbow. Emma grabbed her other hand. Chin up, Cole murmured. You're a Morrison now. That means something here. They walked through the parted crowd toward the church door. Clara felt every stare, every whispered comment. That's her. So plain. Poor Cole settling for that. Clara kept her chin up, kept walking. Inside, they took a pew near the front. Clara sat between Cole and Emma, achingly aware of the weight of attention on her back. Pastor Michaels smiled kindly from the pulpit. Welcome, friends. I see we have Mrs. Morrison with us today. Clara, we're blessed to have you join our community, murmured responses. Not all friendly. The service dragged on. Clara barely heard the sermon. She was too busy feeling the judgment radiating from the pews behind her. After the final hymn, people swarmed. Cole, congratulations on your marriage. A woman in an expensive dress pushed forward. She was beautiful, blonde, delicate features, the kind of woman Clara had spent her life being compared to. Margaret. Cole's voice went cool. This is my wife, Clara. Clara Margaret Shaw. Her father owns the bank. Margaret's smile didn't reach her eyes. How lovely to meet you. You must tell me all about yourself. It's so unusual a mail-order arrangement. So brave of you to come all this way to marry a man you'd never met. The words dripped false sweetness. Clara recognized the tactic her sisters had perfected it. Brave or desperate depending on your perspective, Clara said evenly. I prefer to think of it as practical. Margaret's smile tightened. How refreshing. Practical. She turned to Cole. My father wanted me to mention he's still interested in that land discussion. Not interested in selling. He's prepared to be very generous. Still not interested. Cole's hand found Clara's lower back. A claim. If you'll excuse us. He steered Clara away. More people pressed in, some genuinely welcoming, others clearly curious, a few openly hostile. An older woman, with steel-gray hair, blocked their path. Cole Morrison. Is this the girl? Mrs. Patterson, this is my wife Clara. Mrs. Patterson looked Clara up and down, like she was evaluating livestock. Not much to look at, is she? Clara felt Cole stiffen beside her. Felt his breath draw in for what would probably be an angry response. She spoke first. No, ma'am, I'm not. But I can cook clean, keep accounts, and manage a household. Looks fade. Competence doesn't. Mrs. Patterson's eyebrows rose. Then, surprising everyone, she laughed. Well said, girl. Well said. She turned to Cole. She's got spine, this one. Better than that delicate flower you married first time around? Mrs. Patterson. Cole's voice held warning. Oh, hush. You know I'm right. Rebecca was lovely but useless. This one looks like she might actually survive a winter. The old woman nodded at Clara. Welcome to Morrison Valley, Mrs. Morrison. You'll do fine here if you don't let the hens peck you to death. She moved on. Clara released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. I'm sorry, Cole said quietly. She's honest. Clara almost smiled. I can handle honest. It's the fake kindness that kills you. Emma tugged Clara's skirt. Can we go home now? My feet hurt. Soon, Emma girl. Cole lifted his daughter easily. Let's say goodbye to Pastor Michaels first. They made their way to the pastor, who squeezed Clara's hand warmly. Pay no mind to the gossips. They'll find someone else to talk about soon enough. He smiled. And if they don't, well, that's on them, not you. Outside, Margaret Shaw stood talking with two other women, their voices carried in the cold air. Did you see her dress at least 3 years out of style? And that hair, absolutely no effort. Poor Cole. First Rebecca, now this. The man has terrible luck with wives. Clara kept walking, kept her face neutral. But Cole stopped, turned around, walked straight back to the three women. Margaret. She looked up startled. Oh, Cole, I didn't see you. Yes, you did. You wanted me to hear. His voice was quiet, dangerous. Let me be clear. Clara is my wife. You will treat her with respect, or you will not speak to her at all. Are we understood? Margaret's face flushed. I was just... Are we understood? Yes. Barely audible. Good. He turned to the other two women. That goes for everyone. Spread the word. He walked back to Clara, and Emma took Clara's arm and led them to the wagon. No one said a word. They drove home in silence. Emma fell asleep against Clara's shoulder. Cole's jaw stayed tight. Finally, Clara spoke. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. I can fight my own battles. I know you can. But you shouldn't have to fight them alone. He glanced at her. Rebecca used to cry for days after church. Let them tear her apart with whispers and never fought back. I swore if I married again, I wouldn't let that happen. I'm not Rebecca. No, you're not. Something softened in his voice. You held your own back there. Mrs. Patterson was right, you've got spine. Years of practice with cruel sisters will do that. Tell me about them. So Clara did. Told him about Josephine and Catherine, about growing up in their shadows, about becoming invisible in her own family. Cole listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Their loss," he said finally. "Our gain." The simple statement made Clara's throat tight. Back at the ranch, Emma woke and immediately wanted to change out of her church dress. Clara helped her, then started preparing Sunday dinner. Cole appeared in the kitchen doorway. "I need to check on the cattle. Should be back by dark." "Be careful." "Always am." He hesitated, then crossed the kitchen and kissed her forehead. Quick, chaste, but deliberate. "Thank you," he said, "for this morning, for handling them the way you did." Then he was gone, leaving Clara staring after him, one hand pressed to her forehead, where she could still feel the warmth of his lips. Emma peeked around the doorframe. "Papa likes you." "What makes you say that?" "He kissed you." He never kissed Mama Rebecca, except at their wedding. Emma climbed onto a chair. "Can we make those cookies now?" "Yes, let's make cookies." They spent the afternoon covered in flour and sugar. Emma was more hindrance than help, but her laughter filled the kitchen and made the work worthwhile. By the time Cole returned, the house smelled like vanilla and butter. Emma had fallen asleep at the table, head pillowed on her arms. Cole stopped in the doorway, taking in the scene. Flour everywhere, Emma sleeping, Clara pulling the last batch from the oven. "Looks like you had fun," he said quietly. "Productive chaos." Clara smiled. "Emma's the enthusiastic helper." "That's one word for it." He crossed to his daughter, lifted her gently. "I'll get her to bed. Save me a cookie. Only if you promise to look at the account books tomorrow." "That bad?" "Worse, but fixable." He nodded and carried Emma upstairs. Clara cleaned the kitchen, her movements automatic. Through the window she could see the last light fading from the sky. Another day survived. Another small step toward making this marriage real. When Cole came back down, she had coffee and cookies waiting. They sat across from each other at the kitchen table. Outside, wind moaned around the house. Inside, warmth and lamplight held the cold at bay. "Tell me the truth," Cole said. "How bad are the accounts?" "You're 6 months behind on payments to 3 suppliers. You have outstanding loans that haven't been serviced. And you're losing money on cattle sales because you're not negotiating well." Clara pulled out her notes. "But your assets are solid. The land, the herd, the equipment, it's all valuable. You just need better management." "Can you do it?" "Yes, but I need authority to make decisions, to negotiate, to handle correspondence." "You have it." Just like that. "Clara, I'm barely keeping this place running. If you can do better, I'd be a fool not to let you try." He met her eyes. "I trust you." The words settled between them weighted with significance. "I won't let you down," Clara said. "I know." They finished their coffee in comfortable silence. Then Cole stood stretched. "I should turn in. Dawn comes early." "Cole." Clara stood too. "Thank you. For today. For defending me. You're my wife. That's what husbands do." "Not all husbands." He studied her face. Then slowly, he reached out and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was gentle, intimate. "Get some rest, Clara. Tomorrow we'll start fresh." After he went upstairs, Clara sat alone in the kitchen. She touched her forehead where he'd kissed it. Touched her hair where his fingers had been. This marriage was supposed to be practical. Business. But somewhere between arriving in the storm and standing beside him at church, something had shifted. She was starting to care about Daniel Cole Morrison. Starting to hope he might care about her too. The thought terrified and exhilarated her in equal measure. Clara banked the fire and climbed the stairs to her room. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. More tests. More chances to prove herself or fail. But tonight, she'd survived. She'd stood up to town gossips. She'd made Emma laugh. She'd earned Cole's trust. Tonight, that was enough. Through the wall, she heard Cole moving in his room. Heard him settle into bed with a sigh. Clara closed her eyes and let herself imagine a future where separate rooms weren't necessary. where this practical marriage became something more. It was too soon for such thoughts. Far too soon. But the heart didn't care about timing. And Clara's heart, locked away for 26 years, was finally beginning to hope. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, 3 weeks after the wedding. Clara was in the kitchen kneading bread when she heard the rider approach. Through the window, she watched a man in a dark suit dismount and hand something to Hank. Hank's face went grim. He strode toward the house. "Mrs. Morrison, this came from town. Man said it's urgent." Clara wiped flour from her hands and took the envelope. Heavy paper. Official seal. Her stomach dropped. "Thank you, Hank." She waited until he left before opening it. Read the contents once. Then again, hoping she'd misunderstood. She hadn't. Cole came in for dinner to find Clara sitting at the table, the letter spread before her, her face white. "What's wrong?" "The bank. Martin Shaw." Clara's voice came out hollow. "He's calling in your loan. Full payment due in 60 days, or he forecloses on the ranch." Cole went very still. "Let me see that." He read it, his face hardening with each line. When he finished, he crumpled the paper in his fist. "That bastard." "I don't understand. The loan isn't due until spring." "It's not. But there's a clause if the bank deems the borrower unstable or at risk of default, they can call it early." Cole's jaw worked. "Shaw's been trying to buy this land for years. Now he's found a way to take it." "How much do you owe?" $3,000. The number hit Clara like a punch. $3,000. It might as well be $3 million. "Do you have it?" "Not liquid. It's all tied up in land and cattle." Cole sat heavily. "Even if I sold every head tomorrow, I couldn't get that much before winter. No one's buying this time of year." "There has to be something we can do." "Like what, rob a bank?" He laughed bitter. "Shaw knows exactly what he's doing. He's got me trapped." Clara stared at the crumpled letter. Her mind raced through possibilities, calculations, desperate solutions. "What if we sold that south section, the one near Shaw's land? Won't bring enough. Maybe 1,000 at most. What about taking out a loan somewhere else? No bank will lend against a property with an outstanding foreclosure notice." Cole stood paced. "I'm going to lose it, Clara. Everything my father built. Everything I've worked for." The defeat in his voice was worse than anger. "No." Clara stood too. "We're not giving up that easily. There's nothing to do. There's always something." She grabbed his arm, made him look at her. "You hired me to manage accounts. Let me manage this." "Clara, give me 3 days. Let me look at the books, talk to suppliers, see what options we have." She held his gaze. 3 days before you surrender." Cole studied her face. Something shifted in his expression. 3 days. He agreed quietly. Clara spent those 3 days barely sleeping. She pored over ledgers, wrote letters, made lists of assets and liabilities. The numbers were brutal. Even liquidating everything wouldn't be enough, but she kept looking, kept calculating. On the second night, Emma found her hunched over the desk long past midnight. "Mama Clara, why are you still awake?" Clara forced a smile. "Just working on some things for your papa." "Is Papa going to lose the ranch?" The blunt question caught Clara off guard. "What makes you ask that? I heard him and Hank talking. Hank said Mr. Shaw wants to take everything away from us." Emma's lower lip trembled. "Are we going to have to leave?" Clara pulled the child into her lap. "Not if I can help it." "But what if you can't? What if we lose our home?" Emma's voice went small. "What if you leave like Mama Rebecca did?" "Oh, sweetheart." Clara held her tight. "I'm not leaving. Even if we lost the ranch tomorrow, I'd still be here. I promised, remember." "But where would we go?" It was a fair question, one Clara had been avoiding thinking about. "I don't know, but we'd be together. You, me, and your papa. That's what matters." Emma clung to her. "I don't want to leave. This is my home." "I know, baby. I know." After Emma finally went back to bed, Clara returned to the numbers, but the child's words echoed in her head. This is my home. It was Clara's home too now. The first real home she'd ever had. And she'd be damned if she let Martin Shaw steal it. On the morning of the third day, Clara rode into town. Cole had tried to stop her. Shaw won't negotiate with a woman. Then he'll be surprised. Clara tied on her bonnet. Hank can drive me. I'll be back by supper. Clara, trust me. So he did. Though the worry in his eyes followed her all the way to town. Morrison Valley Bank was a brick building on the main street, imposing and cold. Clara walked through the door with her spine straight and her stomach in knots. I need to see Mr. Shaw, she told the clerk. Do you have an appointment? No, but he'll want to see me. Clara kept her voice level. Tell him Mrs. Cole Morrison is here to discuss the loan. The clerk disappeared. Returned 5 minutes later looking uncertain. Mr. Shaw will see you, but he says he has limited time. Clara followed him into an office lined with dark wood and expensive furniture. Martin Shaw sat behind a massive desk, his expression smug. Mrs. Morrison, what an unexpected pleasure. Mr. Shaw. Clara took the chair across from him without being invited. I'm here about the foreclosure notice. Ah, yes, unfortunate business that. He laced his fingers together. But the contract is quite clear. The loan is due. The loan isn't due until spring. You're manipulating a technicality. I'm exercising the bank's legal rights. Shaw's smile didn't waver. Your husband took a risk borrowing from us. Sometimes risks don't pay off. You want the land. That's what this is really about. What I want is irrelevant. The bank must protect its interests. Clara pulled papers from her bag. I've reviewed the loan documents. The instability clause requires evidence of financial distress. But the Morrison Ranch is profitable. The cattle operation is sound. There's no legitimate reason to call this loan. Shaw's smile tightened. The ranch has been mismanaged for years. Outstanding debts, missed payments. All current now. I've settled every outstanding account. Clara laid out receipts. And I've secured new contracts for spring cattle sales that will generate revenue well above the loan amount. Spring is months away. The contracts are binding. The buyers have put down deposits. She pushed another paper across the desk. Morrison Valley Ranch is a sound investment, Mr. Shaw. Any court would see that. Shaw's face darkened. Are you threatening legal action? I'm stating facts. If you proceed with this foreclosure, we will contest it. The process will take months. During that time, the property remains with the Morrisons, and you get no interest payments. Clara leaned forward. Or you could accept our counteroffer. What counteroffer? Extend the loan 6 months. We'll pay an additional point of interest. In return, you get guaranteed payment plus profit, and you avoid a costly legal battle you might lose. Shaw laughed. You expect me to believe Cole Morrison came up with this plan? I came up with this plan. Cole married me to manage his business affairs. That's what I'm doing. I don't negotiate with women. Then you're a fool. Clara stood. I'll expect your response by Friday. If I don't receive it, our lawyer will file a contest motion Monday morning. You don't have a lawyer. Don't I? Clara smiled coldly. Good day, Mr. Shaw. She walked out before her knees could give out. In the wagon, Hank was waiting. How'd it go? I have no idea. Clara collapsed against the seat. Either I just saved the ranch or made everything worse. My money's on saved. Hank clicked to the horses. Never seen anyone walk out of Shaw's office with their head up before. I might have been bluffing about the lawyer. Might have. Definitely was. We can't afford a lawyer. Hank grinned. Boss is gonna love this. Cole was waiting on the porch when they returned. He met the wagon before it fully stopped. Well, Clara climbed down on shaking legs. I made him an offer, 6-month extension at higher interest. And he'll think about it. She looked up at Cole. I might have implied we'd take him to court if he refused. And I might have mentioned we have a lawyer even though we don't. Cole stared at her. Then he started laughing. Really laughing, deep and genuine. You bluffed Martin Shaw. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Clara Morrison, you're full of surprises. He pulled her close, hugged her tight. Thank you. The embrace was brief but fierce. When he let go, Clara's heart was hammering. Don't thank me yet. He might say no. Even if he does, you tried. That's more than I could do. That night at supper, Emma was unusually quiet. She pushed food around her plate without eating. What's wrong, Emma girl? Cole asked. Are we still going to lose the house? Cole and Clara exchanged looks. Clara nodded slightly. Come here, sweetheart. Cole lifted Emma onto his lap. Mama Clara went to town today and talked to the man at the bank. She's trying to make it so we can keep the ranch. Will it work? We don't know yet, but we're doing everything we can. What if it doesn't work? Emma's voice trembled. Where will we go? We'll figure it out together, the three of us. Cole smoothed her hair. But you know what? Even if we had to leave this house, we'd still be a family. That's what matters most. Really? Really? He looked at Clara over Emma's head. Family isn't about a place. It's about people who stick together no matter what. Clara felt tears burn behind her eyes. 3 weeks ago, she'd been a stranger stepping off a train. Now she was part of something bigger than herself. Friday came with no word from Shaw. Saturday passed in tense silence. Sunday after church, Margaret Shaw cornered Clara outside. I heard you went to see my father. Her voice dripped disdain. Really, Clara, it's embarrassing. A woman trying to do business. It's embarrassing that your father's trying to steal a ranch through legal manipulation. Clara replied evenly. He's doing nothing illegal. Then he has nothing to worry about. Margaret's eyes narrowed. You're making a mistake crossing my father. He always wins. Maybe it's time someone taught him what losing feels like. Clara walked away before Margaret could respond. Monday morning, a writer came from town. Clara's hands shook as she opened the envelope, read the single page inside. Clara. Cole appeared in the doorway. What is it? She looked up, hardly daring to believe it. He agreed. 6-month extension. Higher interest, but we keep the ranch. Cole crossed the kitchen in 2 strides and pulled her into his arms. This time, the embrace wasn't brief. He held her tight, his face buried in her hair. You did it, he said roughly. You actually did it. We did it. Your ranch is worth saving. He pulled back just enough to look at her face. His hands came up to cup her cheeks. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. Then he kissed her. Really kissed her, not the chaste brush of lips from their wedding, but something deeper, hungry, full of relief and gratitude, and something else Clara didn't dare name. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Cole rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling in love with you, he said quietly. I know that wasn't the deal. I know you came here for practical reasons, but I can't help it. Clara's heart felt too big for her chest. Good, because I'm falling in love with you too. He kissed her again, softer this time, reverent. Papa, Mama Clara. Emma's voice rang from upstairs. Are you kissing? That's gross. They broke apart laughing. Not gross, Cole called back. Just married people being married. Still gross. Clara pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to contain the joy threatening to spill over. A month ago, she'd been unwanted, heading west with nothing but desperate hope. Now she had a home, a family, a husband who loved her. What are you thinking? Cole asked. That I should write my sisters a thank you letter. For what? For sending me away. Best thing they ever did for me. She took his hand. Come on. We should tell Emma the good news about the ranch. In a minute. He pulled her back, kissed her once more. Just need another minute. Clara melted into him, letting herself feel safe and wanted and home. Through the window, she could see snow beginning to fall. The first real storm of winter approaching. But inside the house was warm and full of life and love. The practical marriage had become something real, And Clara, who'd spent 26 years being told she wasn't enough, finally understood her own worth. That evening, the temperature dropped fast. Wind picked up howling around the house. Cole checked the livestock twice, making sure everything was secured. "Big storm coming," he said, stamping snow from his boots. "Might be snowed in for a few days. We have supplies. Enough to last a week if we need to." He pulled off his coat, hung it by the door. "Clara about earlier. I meant what I said." She crossed to him. "I love you, Cole. I'm not taking it back." Relief flooded his face. "Good. Because I'm not letting you go. Ever." He kissed her again, and this time when Emma called down that they were being gross, they just laughed and kept kissing anyway. The storm raged for 3 days. Snow piled up past the windows. The world narrowed to just the three of them and the ranch hands in the bunkhouse. But inside the Morrison house was warm. Emma played with her dolls. Clara taught her to read. Cole worked on repairs that had been neglected. And in the evenings they sat together by the fire, a family. On the third night after Emma was asleep, Cole led Clara to his room instead of leaving her at her door. "Stay with me," he said quietly. "I'm tired of separate rooms. Tired of pretending this is just business." Clara's heart hammered. "What about Emma?" "Emma will be thrilled. She's been asking when you're moving into Papa's room." He smiled. "She's 6, not stupid. She knows married people share a bed." "Cole, if you're not ready, I understand. We can wait." He touched her face gently. "But I want you to know you're wanted here. Really wanted. Not just for cooking or cleaning or managing accounts. You." Clara thought about her old life. About being the unwanted daughter. About all the years of loneliness. Then she thought about this man who'd chosen her. This child who called her mama. This home they were building together. "I'm ready," she whispered. Cole's smile was slow and tender. He drew her inside and closed the door. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, two lonely people found warmth in each other, found home, found love in the most unexpected place. And Clara, lying in Cole's arms as dawn approached, finally understood what it meant to belong. She'd been sent west as a joke. Her sisters had meant to humiliate her. Instead, they'd given her everything she'd ever wanted. The irony was perfect. When morning came, Clara woke to find Cole already awake watching her. "Hi," she said shyly. "Hi." He kissed her forehead. "No regrets." "None. You." "Not a single one." He pulled her closer. "Though we should probably get up before Emma comes looking for us." "Probably." Neither of them moved. They lay tangled together, warm and content, until Emma's voice carried down the hall. "Papa, Mama, Clara." The storm stopped. "Can we build a snow fort?" Clara laughed. "Real life calls." "Let it wait another minute." So they did. Just another minute of peace before the day began. But it was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. Spring came late to Morrison Valley, arriving in fits and starts through February's lingering cold. Clara stood at the kitchen window watching ice melt from the eaves. 4 months since she'd stepped off that train. 4 months since she'd been Clara Winters, unwanted and alone. Now she was Clara Morrison. Wife. Mother. The woman who'd saved the ranch Martin Shaw tried to steal. "Mama Clara, look what I wrote." Emma burst into the kitchen, slate in hand. "I wrote my whole name without any mistakes." Clara examined the careful letters. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. Your papa will be so proud." "Can I show him now?" "He's in the barn with the new calves. Put on your coat first." Emma raced off. Clara smiled and returned to the bread dough she'd been kneading. Her hands worked the rhythm automatically, now no longer the uncertain movements of a city girl pretending to know ranch work. She belonged here. Finally, completely, she belonged. The door opened. Cole came in, stamping mud from his boots, Hank close behind. We got trouble, Cole said without preamble. Clara's hands stilled. What kind? Cattle are sick. Started this morning. 3 down, 4 more showing symptoms. His face was grim. Looks like blackleg. The word hit Clara like cold water. She'd learned enough about ranching to know what blackleg meant. Cattle dropping fast. No cure. Financial devastation. How bad can it get? If it spreads, we could lose half the herd. Cole pulled off his hat, ran a hand through his hair. We need to quarantine the sick ones, burn any that die, keep it from spreading. What can I do? Keep Emma away from the cattle. And pray. He headed back toward the door. This couldn't come at a worse time. We just got 6 more weeks until the loan payment is due. After he left, Clara stood motionless, staring at the dough under her hands. 6 weeks. They'd managed to scrape together almost enough through her careful management and the spring contracts she'd secured. But losing cattle meant losing income. Meant losing everything. No, she wouldn't let that happen. Not after coming this far. Clara wiped her hands and went to Cole's office. The accounts were her domain now. She'd find a solution. She had to. 3 days later, they'd lost 8 head of cattle. The quarantine was holding but barely. Cole and the hands worked around the clock, exhausted and desperate. Clara brought food to the barn where Cole was tending the sick animals. He looked like death himself, face-gaunt eyes red-rimmed. You need to sleep. Can't. If I'm not watching them every minute. His voice cracked. I'm going to lose it all, Clara. The bank payment is due in 5 weeks. We're short by at least $1,000 now. We'll figure it out. How? There's no more money to squeeze out. No more contracts to negotiate. He sank onto a hay bale. Hayes. I should have listened to Shaw. Should have sold when I had the chance. Stop that. Clara sat beside him. We're not giving up. What choice do we have? There's always a choice. She took his hand. Trust me. But that night, lying alone in their bed while Cole stayed with the sick cattle, Clara felt fear claw at her throat. What if there was no solution? What if they really did lose everything? She thought about Emma asking where they'd go if they lost the ranch. About Cole's father building this place from nothing. About 4 months of hard-won belonging potentially ripped away. No. She wouldn't let it happen. Clara rose before dawn and rode into town. She went to every business owner she'd dealt with over the past months, asked for extensions on payments, begged for advances on contracts, swallowed her pride and requested help. Some said yes, most said no. By midday, she'd scraped together another $300. Not enough. Not nearly enough. She was leaving the mercantile when Margaret Shaw stepped into her path. Clara Morrison, how desperate you must be begging for money all over town. Clara bit back a sharp response. Desperate times call for desperate measures. My father could help you, if you asked nicely. Your father is the reason we're in this position. Margaret's smile was poison sweet. Actually, Cole's mismanagement is the reason. My father just called him on it. She stepped closer. But he might be persuaded to extend the loan again, for the right price. What price? That south section, the one bordering our land. Sign it over and he'll forgive the entire loan. Clara's breath caught. That land is worth twice what we owe. Consider it interest, and a penalty for wasting my father's time. Margaret examined her gloves. It's a generous offer, really. You keep the ranch. Cole keeps his pride. Everyone wins. Except we lose the best grazing land we have. Better than losing everything. Margaret looked up, eyes sharp. You have until Friday to decide. After that, the offer expires, and the foreclosure proceeds. She walked away, leaving Clara standing on the boardwalk with fury and fear warring in her chest. That night, Clara told Cole about Margaret's offer. Absolutely not. His voice was flat. That's extortion. It's also our only option. I won't do it. I won't let Shaw steal what my father built. Even if it means losing the entire ranch. Cole paced the kitchen like a caged animal. There has to be another way. I've looked. There isn't. Clara's voice broke. Cole, I've done everything I can. I've called in every favor, negotiated every contract, squeezed every penny. We're still short. Then we fight. Take it to court like you threatened before. With what money, we can't afford a lawyer. Shaw knows that. She caught his arm. Sometimes the smart choice is the one that lets you survive to fight another day. You're asking me to surrender. I'm asking you to be practical. We keep the main ranch, keep our home, keep Emma safe, lose one section of land instead of everything. Cole pulled away from her. You don't understand. That land was my father's first purchase. He worked himself into an early grave to pay for it. And now I'm supposed to just hand it over to Shaw. Your father would want you to survive. You didn't know my father. No. But I know you. Clara moved to stand in front of him. And I know you're terrified right now. Not of losing land, but of failing. Of proving everyone right who said you couldn't do this. Cole's jaw worked. His eyes were bright with unshed tears. I'm so tired, Clara. Tired of fighting. Tired of watching everything slip away no matter how hard I work. She pulled him close. Let him rest his forehead against hers. Then let me fight for you. Just this once. Let me make the hard choice so you don't have to carry it. If I agree to this, if I let Shaw win, I'll never forgive myself. Yes, you will. Because you'll be here to see Emma grow up. To build new memories in this house. To prove that losing one battle doesn't mean losing the war. Cole was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded against her shoulder. Do it. Sign whatever Shaw wants. Just make sure we keep the rest. Clara met with Martin Shaw the next morning. He looked smug behind his massive desk, clearly relishing her presence. Mrs. Morrison, I hear you've reconsidered my daughter's generous offer. It's not generous, and we both know it. Clara set her papers on his desk. But I'm here to negotiate terms. There are no terms. You sign over the land or the foreclosure proceeds. Then let it proceed. We'll file for bankruptcy. Tie up the land in court for months. Years, maybe. Clara leaned forward. You'll get the ranch eventually, but it'll be worthless. Buildings will decay. Cattle will be sold off. By the time you take possession, you'll have spent more in legal fees than the land is worth. Shaw's face darkened. You're bluffing. Try me. Clara met his gaze without flinching. Or you could accept our counteroffer. We sign over the south section now. In exchange, you forgive the current loan and give us a new mortgage on the remaining land at fair interest rates. You get the property you want. We get to rebuild. Everyone walks away alive. Why would I give you a new mortgage when I could just take everything? Because if you foreclose, every rancher in 3 counties will know you did it through manipulation. They'll pull their money from your bank, take their business elsewhere. Clara smiled coldly. But if you accept this deal, you look reasonable, tough but fair, good for business. Shaw studied her. You've learned a lot about negotiation, Mrs. Morrison. I had good motivation. She pushed the papers closer. Do we have a deal or do we go to court? Why do you care so much? You've been here, 4 months? This isn't even your fight. It became my fight the day I married Cole. His family is my family. His ranch is my home. Clara's voice hardened. And I'll be damned if I let a banker who thinks women can't do business take it from me. Something flickered in Shaw's expression. Not quite respect, but close. Fine. New mortgage, fair rates, south section signed over. He pulled out fresh papers. But if you miss a single payment, I take everything. No second chances. We won't miss payments. We'll see. Clara signed the papers with a hand that didn't shake, took the new mortgage documents, and walked out of that bank with her head high. She'd lost the battle, but saved the war. Cole was waiting when she got back. He stood in the barn, shoulders slumped, looking at the sick cattle they'd been trying to save. It's done, Clara said quietly. He nodded without turning around. What are the terms? She told him. When she finished, his shoulders shook. For a terrible moment, Clara thought he was crying. Then she realized he was laughing. Bitter, exhausted laughter. "You actually got him to give us a new mortgage. After everything." He turned to face her. "How?" "I told him every rancher in the territory would hate him if he foreclosed. Threatened to drag him through court." Clara shrugged. "And I reminded him that underestimating women usually ends badly for men." Cole crossed to her and pulled her into a fierce embrace. "I don't deserve you. Stop saying that. You deserve someone who fights for you, who sees your worth." She pulled back to look at him. "We lost one section of land, Cole, but we kept everything that matters, the house, the rest of the ranch, our family." "My father?" "Your father built this place so his family would have security. That's what we're protecting. That's what he'd want." Cole kissed her hard. Desperate. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you. God, I love you." "I love you too. Now come inside. You haven't slept in 3 days and you need food." "The cattle. Hank can watch them. You need rest." For once, Cole didn't argue. He let her lead him to the house, let her feed him, let her tuck him into bed like a child. He was asleep in minutes. Clara sat beside him watching his chest rise and fall. His face in sleep looked younger, more peaceful than she'd seen it in weeks. They'd survived. Not unscathed, but alive. And sometimes survival was enough. 2 weeks later, the blackleg outbreak finally ended. They'd lost 15 head total, but the rest of the herd was healthy. Spring grass was coming in strong. The new calves were thriving. Clara stood in the kitchen making breakfast when Emma ran in face bright with excitement. "Mama, Clara Papa says we can ride into town for supplies. Can I get peppermints?" "If you behave yourself." Clara smiled. "Go tell your papa I'm almost ready." The ride to town was pleasant. The sun was warm. Wildflowers dotted the meadows. Emma chattered about everything and nothing bouncing between her parents on the wagon seat. In town, they ran into Pastor Michaels outside the church. "Cole, Clara, good to see you both. Heard about the cattle. Sorry for your troubles." "We managed," Cole said. "More than managed from what I hear. Clara drove a hard bargain with Shaw." The pastor smiled. "Whole town's talking about how you stood up to him. About time someone did." "I just did what needed doing," Clara said. "That's what makes you remarkable. You see what needs doing, and you do it." He tipped his hat. "Morrison Valley's lucky to have you, Clara. Don't let anyone tell you different." After he left, Cole took Clara's hand. "See? Told you people would come around." "Some people? Margaret Shaw still looks at me like I'm dirt on her shoe." "Margaret's opinion doesn't matter." He squeezed her hand. "Mine does. And I think you're extraordinary." Heat crept up Clara's neck. Even after months of marriage, his compliments still made her blush. They were leaving the Mercantile when a commotion erupted down the street. Shouting. The sound of glass breaking. Cole's face went hard. "Stay with Emma." "Cole." But he was already running toward the noise. Clara grabbed Emma's hand and followed more slowly. A crowd had gathered outside the saloon. Through the press of bodies, Clara saw Cole and Hank pulling 2 men apart. One of them was bleeding from a cut over his eye. The other was Clara's breath caught. The other was a boy. 16, maybe 17. Thin. Terrified. And when he looked up at the crowd, Clara saw something in his face she recognized. The look of someone who had nowhere else to go. Cole and Hank hauled both men to the marshal's office. The crowd dispersed, muttering. Clara stood rooted to the spot, staring after the boy. "Mama Clara, what's wrong?" "Nothing. Sweetheart, let's go find your papa." At the marshal's office, Clara learned the full story. The boy's name was David. He'd been caught stealing food from the saloon. The owner wanted him arrested. "He's a thief," the saloon keeper spat. "Lock him up." "I was hungry," David said quietly. His voice was raw. "Haven't eaten in 3 days." "Not my problem. Should have thought of that before you stole." Clara looked at the boy. at his thin frame and hollow cheeks, at the desperation in his eyes. She saw herself 6 months ago. Desperate. Alone. One bad decision away from catastrophe. "I'll pay for the food," Clara heard herself say. Everyone turned to stare at her. "What?" the saloon keeper said. "I'll pay for whatever he stole, and I'll hire him." Clara looked at Cole. "We need extra help on the ranch, don't we?" Cole's eyes widened. Then something softened in his face. "We do. Absolutely." He looked at the marshal. "If Clara's making this right, there's no crime. Let the boy go." "But," the saloon keeper started. "The lady said she's paying. That's the end of it." The marshal unlocked David's cell. "Boy, you just got yourself the luckiest break of your life. Don't waste it." David stared at Clara like she'd grown a second head. "Why would you help me?" "Because someone helped me once when I needed it most." Clara smiled. "Come on, let's get you something to eat." On the ride back to the ranch, David sat in the wagon bed clutching a bag of food from the mercantile. He hadn't spoken since they left town, except to mumble thank you. Emma kept turning around to stare at him. Finally she asked, "Are you going to live with us?" David looked uncertain. "I don't know." "You will," Cole said. "We've got room in the bunkhouse. You work hard, you earn your keep, and we'll treat you fair. That sound acceptable?" "Yes, sir." David's voice cracked. "Thank you, sir." "Ma'am, I won't let you down." "See that you don't," Hank said gruffly. But Clara saw the softness in his eyes. The ranch hands were good men. They'd take care of the boy. That night, after Emma was asleep and David was settled in the bunkhouse, Cole found Clara in the kitchen. "That was a good thing you did today. I couldn't leave him there. He reminded me too much of myself." "How so?" "Lost, desperate, one wrong choice away from disaster." Clara turned to face Cole. "Someone gave me a chance when I didn't deserve one. I figured I should pay that forward." Cole pulled her close. "You deserved that chance. You deserved every good thing that's happened." "I don't know about that, but I'm grateful anyway." She rested her head against his chest. "We're going to be okay, aren't we? The ranch, our family, all of it." "Yeah, we are." He kissed the top of her head. "You made sure of that." They stood together in the quiet kitchen, holding each other while the fire burned low. Outside, spring was taking hold. New grass, new calves, new possibilities. Inside, a family was growing stronger. The mail-order bride who'd been sent as a joke had become the backbone of Morrison Valley Ranch. The woman everyone dismissed had saved them all. And Clara Morrison, who'd spent 26 years being told she wasn't enough, finally believed she was more than enough. She was exactly what this family needed. And that was everything. Summer arrived in full force, turning the valley gold and green. Clara sat on the porch, shelling peas, watching Cole and David work with the horses in the corral. The boy had filled out over the past months, no longer the hollow-eyed waif they'd rescued. He moved with confidence now, following Cole's instructions, with the eagerness of someone who'd finally found a place to belong. Emma burst through the door, letter in hand. "Mama, Clara, mail came. There's one from Pennsylvania." Clara's hands stilled. She'd written to her mother regularly, but replies came rarely. Her sisters never wrote at all. She opened the envelope carefully. Her mother's careful script filled 2 pages. "What does it say?" Emma climbed into Clara's lap, curious. "It says..." Clara scanned the words, hardly believing them. "It says, my sisters want to visit." "Really?" Emma bounced. "Will they be nice?" "I don't know, sweetheart. But they're coming in August." Clara kept reading. Her mother's words grew more urgent toward the end. "Your sisters have changed, Clara. Josephine's husband lost his position. Catherine's engagement ended badly. Margaret is increasingly difficult. They need to see what you've built. They need to understand that worth isn't measured in beauty or social standing. I'm proud of you, my darling girl. Prouder than I ever knew how to say when you were here." Clara folded the letter carefully, her throat tight. "Are you crying?" Emma asked, worried. "Happy tears, sweetheart. Just happy tears." That night, Clara told Cole about the letter. He listened quietly, his arm around her shoulders. "How do you feel about them coming?" "Terrified, excited, angry." Clara laughed shakily. "Everything at once. You don't have to host them if you don't want to. I want to, I think." She turned to look at him. "I want them to see this, to see what their joke created. Is that petty? It's human." Cole kissed her temple. "And they should see it. Should see what you've accomplished, what you've become." "What have I become?" "Fierce, capable, the heart of this ranch." He pulled her closer. "The love of my life." Clara's breath caught. He'd said he loved her before, but this felt different. More permanent, more real. "I love you too. So much it scares me sometimes." Good scared or bad scared? Good scared. The kind that means I have something worth losing. She rested her head on his shoulder. "I never had that before. Never had anything I'd truly grieve if it disappeared. You're not going to lose this. Lose us." Cole's voice was firm. "I promise you that." But promises were fragile things Clara had learned. Life had a way of breaking them. The telegram arrived on a Tuesday in late July. Clara was in the garden with Emma when Hank rode up, fast face grim. "Mrs. Morrison, this came from town. Urgent." Clara's hands shook as she opened it. Read the words once, twice. They didn't change. "Father gravely ill. Come home immediately. Josephine." "No." The word came out strangled. "No. Not yet." "What's wrong?" Emma tugged her skirt. "My father is sick. I need to go to Pennsylvania." Clara looked at Hank. "When's the next train?" "Tomorrow morning if you ride out tonight." Clara's mind raced. She couldn't leave. The ranch needed her. Emma needed her. Cole needed her. But her father was dying. Cole found her in their bedroom, throwing things into a trunk with shaking hands. "Clara, slow down." "I can't. If I slow down, I'll think about it, and if I think about it, I'll fall apart." She grabbed another dress. "I have to go. He's my father. Even if he was a terrible father, he's still mine." "I know. I'm coming with you." Clara stopped, turned. "You can't. The ranch—" "Hank can manage for a few weeks. David's learning fast. They'll be fine." Cole took her hands. "You're not doing this alone." "What about Emma?" "She comes too. We're a family, Clara. We stay together." Relief flooded through her so powerfully her knees went weak. "Thank you." They left before dawn. The journey east was a blur of trains and uncomfortable seats, and Emma asking endless questions about Pennsylvania and grandparents she'd never met. Clara watched the landscape change through the window. The vast openness of the west giving way to the crowded, cultivated east. It felt like traveling backward through time. When they finally reached her childhood home 5 days later, Clara barely recognized it. The house looked smaller, shabbier. The gardens were overgrown, the paint peeling. Her mother answered the door. Elizabeth Winters had aged years in the months since Clara left. Her face was drawn, her hair more gray than brown. "Clara!" Her mother's voice broke. "Oh, my darling girl!" They held each other on the doorstep. Clara felt like a child again, small and needing comfort. "How is he?" Clara finally asked. "Dying. The doctor says days, maybe a week." Elizabeth pulled back, noticing Cole and Emma for the first time. "And this must be your family." "Mother, this is my husband Cole and our daughter Emma." "Our daughter." Clara saw her mother notice the possessive, saw approval in her eyes. "Come in, please. Your father's been asking for you." Thomas Winters looked like a ghost of himself. His once robust frame had withered. His face was gray, but his eyes were still sharp. "Clara." His voice was barely a whisper. "Father." Clara moved to his bedside. I came as soon as I got the telegram. I know. Your mother told me. He gestured weakly toward a chair. Sit. Let me look at you. Clara sat. Let him study her face. You look different, he said finally. Stronger. Happier. I am. Good. That's good. He closed his eyes, gathering strength. I was wrong, Clara. Wrong about you. Wrong about what I tried to make you do. Father, let me finish. I don't have much time. His eyes opened. I sold you like cattle because I was a coward, because I couldn't face my own failures, and I've regretted it every day since. You gave me a life, Clara said quietly. Maybe not the way you intended, but you did. Your mother showed me your letters, showed me what you've accomplished. A tear slipped down his weathered cheek. I'm proud of you, Clara. Should have said it years ago. Should have seen what you were instead of what I wanted you to be. Clara took his hand. It felt fragile as paper. I forgive you, Father. You shouldn't, but thank you. He looked past her to where Cole stood in the doorway. That your husband? Yes. He treating you right? Better than right. He loves me. Thomas nodded slowly. Good. You deserve that. Always did. His breathing grew labored. One more thing. The house. I'm leaving it to you. Your sisters got their dowries. This is yours. Father, I don't need... I know, but take it anyway. Sell it if you want. Keep it. I don't care. His grip tightened weakly on her hand. Just promise me you'll keep being strong. Keep being yourself. Don't let anyone make you small again. I promise. Good girl. His eyes drifted closed. Always were a good girl. Just took me too long to see it. Clara sat with him until he fell asleep. Then she went downstairs to where her family waited. Her sisters had arrived while she was upstairs. Josephine sat stiffly in the parlor, her expensive dress unable to hide the tension in her shoulders. Catherine stood by the window, thinner than Clara remembered. Margaret paced nervously. They all turned when Clara entered. Josephine spoke first. Clara, you look different. I am different. Clara moved into the room. Cole and Emma flanked her like sentries. This is your husband. Margaret's tone made it clear she found Cole lacking in social graces. This is Cole Morrison. He owns Morrison Valley Ranch in Colorado Territory. Clara's voice was level. And this is Emma, our daughter. Stepdaughter, you mean? Josephine corrected. Our daughter, Clara repeated firmly. Blood doesn't make family. Love does. Silence fell heavy. Catherine finally broke it. We heard about Father's illness. Came as soon as we could. He's dying, Clara said bluntly. Days, the doctor says. More silence. Margaret cleared her throat. About the inheritance. Margaret, their mother snapped. The man isn't even dead yet. We need to discuss it. You know we do. Margaret faced Clara. I assume he's leaving everything to you, his precious youngest daughter who ran away and abandoned us. I didn't run away. I was escaping. Clara kept her voice steady. And yes, he's leaving me this house. You all got your dowries. This is mine. That's hardly fair, Josephine said. We have expenses. I don't care about your expenses. Clara looked at each sister in turn. You sent me west as a cruel joke. You wanted to humiliate me. Instead, you gave me everything. So if you're looking for sympathy about your financial troubles, you won't find it here. We were young, Catherine said softly. We didn't understand. You understood perfectly. You just didn't care. Clara crossed her arms. But I'm not here to relitigate the past. I'm here because my father is dying, and he deserves to have his family around him. If you can manage basic decency for a few days, fine. If not, leave. Emma tugged Cole's hand. Papa, why is everyone angry? They're not angry, Emma girl. They're just figuring some things out. Cole lifted her. Why don't we go see if there are cookies in the kitchen? After they left, Josephine's composure cracked. You have no idea what it's been like, Clara. My husband lost his position. We're barely making ends meet. Catherine's engagement ended because her dowry wasn't enough. Margaret can't find anyone who'll have her. Her voice rose. And you're out west living some romantic fantasy while we suffer. Romantic fantasy? Clara laughed bitterly. I negotiate with cattle rustlers and bankers who want to steal my home. I manage accounts and livestock and pray we don't lose everything in the next storm. I held my husband while he grieved his first wife and his dying father's legacy. That's not fantasy. That's survival. But you're happy, Catherine said quietly. We can see it in your face. You're happy. Yes, I'm happy. Because I chose this life. Because I built something with my own hands instead of waiting for someone to give me worth. Clara softened slightly. You could have that too, any of you, but you'd have to stop measuring yourselves against impossible standards and start living for yourselves. Easy for you to say, Margaret muttered. It's not easy. Nothing about my life is easy, but it's mine. Clara turned to her mother. I'm going back upstairs to sit with Father. When he passes, I'll make arrangements. The house is mine, but you're all welcome to stay through the funeral. After that, I'm going home. Home to Colorado, Josephine said flatly. Home to my family. Home to where I belong. Clara paused in the doorway. You should try finding where you belong too. It might surprise you. Thomas Winters died 3 days later quietly in his sleep with Clara holding one hand and Elizabeth holding the other. The funeral was small, a few business associates, some distant relatives. The pastor spoke of a man Clara barely recognized, successful, respected, devoted to family. Clara let the words wash over her without really hearing them. She thought instead about her last conversation with her father, about forgiveness and second chances, about all the wasted years they could have had if he'd just seen her clearly. But he'd seen her at the end. That had to count for something. After the service, people came to pay respects. Clara stood receiving them with Cole at her side, feeling like a stranger in a place she'd once called home. Margaret Shaw was there with her father. She made a point of approaching Clara. Mrs. Morrison, my condolences on your loss. Thank you. I wanted to apologize for how I behaved in Colorado. It was unworthy of me. Clara studied her. The apology seemed genuine. Thank you for that. Your husband spoke quite forcefully in your defense. It made an impression. Margaret glanced at Cole, who stood talking with the pastor. You're lucky to have someone who loves you so openly. I know. Margaret drifted away. Clara watched her go, feeling something like pity. The beautiful ones weren't always the lucky ones. The house was chaos after the funeral. Relatives picking through belongings. Her sisters arguing about who should get which pieces of furniture. Clara stayed out of it, letting them have whatever they wanted. She found her mother in the garden, staring at the overgrown roses. I'm selling the house, Clara said without preamble. I don't need it, and you shouldn't stay here alone. I know. I've been thinking the same thing. Elizabeth turned to face her daughter. I want to come with you. Clara's breath caught. To Colorado. If you'll have me, I can help with Emma, earn my keep. Her mother's voice trembled. I don't want to die here, Clara, not in this house full of regrets. Mother, please, let me do this. Let me be part of your life properly. Elizabeth took Clara's hands. Let me be the mother I should have been all along. Clara pulled her mother close. Yes, of course yes. They left Pennsylvania a week later. Clara signed papers selling the house and dividing the proceeds among her sisters. She took nothing but her grandmother's music box and her mother. On the train heading west, Emma sat between her grandmother's Elizabeth and Emma's first mama. Rebecca were both gone now, but Elizabeth was here, present, wanting to be part of this family. Cole watched them with a soft expression. You sure about this? It's a big change. She's my mother, and she wants to try. Clara leaned against his shoulder. Besides, having help with Emma will be good when the baby comes. Cole went very still. What? I'm pregnant. About 3 months along, I think. Clara smiled at his shocked expression. Surprise? We're... He couldn't seem to finish a sentence. Then he laughed and pulled her close, kissing her thoroughly despite the other passengers. When were you going to tell me? I just did. I wanted to be sure first. She rested her hand on her still flat stomach. Are you happy? Happy. Cole's voice was thick with emotion. Clara, I'm terrified and thrilled and so in love with you, I can barely breathe. Good answer. They arrived back at Morrison Valley Ranch in early September. The autumn air was crisp, tinged with the promise of coming winter. But the ranch looked welcoming, smoke curling from the chimney, David waving from the corral. Hank met them at the door. About time you got back. Place is falling apart without Mrs. Morrison keeping us in line. I was only gone a month. Longest month of my life. Had to manage accounts and supplies myself. He grinned. Never complaining about your nagging again. David came running up, face bright. Did you have a good trip? I've been practicing with the horses like Mr. Morrison showed me. I can... He stopped, noticing Elizabeth. Oh. Hello, ma'am. David, this is my mother. She'll be living with us now. Clara smiled at this boy's uncertain expression. Don't worry, she's much nicer than I am. That wouldn't be hard, Cole muttered, earning an elbow in the ribs. That night, after Emma and Elizabeth were settled in their rooms and the house was quiet, Clara and Cole lay in their bed, talking about everything and nothing. I'm going to need to expand the house, Cole said, with your mother here and the baby coming. We can afford it. The new cattle contracts came through. Yes, and David's been a huge help. Kid works like 3 men. Cole traced patterns on Clara's arm. You were right to take a chance on him. I recognized desperation when I saw it. Clara turned to face him. We're going to be okay, aren't we? All of us? Yeah, we are. He kissed her forehead. You saved this ranch, Clara. Saved me. Saved Emma. I don't say it enough, but you're the reason any of us are still standing. We saved each other. That's how partnerships work. Is that what this is? A partnership. Among other things. Clara smiled. It's also a love story, a family, a home. She paused. It's everything I never knew I wanted. Me too. Cole's hand drifted to her stomach. I can't believe we're going to have a baby. Scared. Terrified, but the good kind. He pulled her close. With you, everything's the good kind of scared. They lay together in the darkness, listening to the house settle around them. Outside, wind whispered through the valley, carrying the promise of winter and renewal. Clara thought about the journey that had brought her here. About being sent west as a joke. About meeting a man who saw her worth when no one else did. About building a family from scratch in the hardest place imaginable. She thought about her father's last words. Keep being strong. Don't let anyone make you small again. She wouldn't. She'd proven that. To her sisters, to Martin Shaw, to everyone who'd ever doubted her. Most importantly, she'd proven it to herself. Clara Winters had been the unwanted daughter, the plain one, the disappointment. But Clara Morrison was fierce and capable, and loved beyond measure. She was a ranch manager and a mother and a wife. She was the heart of Morrison Valley Ranch and the backbone of her family. She was enough, more than enough. And on a cold September night in Colorado Territory, wrapped in her husband's arms, with their child growing inside her, Clara finally understood what her grandmother had tried to tell her all those years ago. Beauty wasn't something you were born with. It was something you became when you stopped hiding and started living. When you stopped apologizing and started claiming your space in the world. When you opened your heart to love and let someone love you back exactly as you were. She was beautiful now, not because her face had changed, but because she'd finally found someone who looked at her and saw everything. The strength and the fear, the courage and the doubt, the ordinary surface and the extraordinary soul beneath. Cole had taken one look at a woman the world called plain and seen his perfect match. And in learning to see herself through his eyes, Clara had discovered the most profound truth of all. She'd always been enough. She'd always been worthy. She'd always been exactly what someone needed somewhere. She just had to find the place where she belonged. And she had. This ranch. This family. This life built from honesty and hard work and choosing each other every single day. This was home. This was love. This was everything. The mail-order bride joke had become the greatest love story Morrison Valley had ever known. The unwanted daughter had become the woman everyone needed. The practical arrangement had transformed into a partnership so deep and true it would last generations. Clara Morrison had found her place in the world. And nothing, not gossip, not hardship, not cruel sisters or manipulative bankers, would ever take it away from her again. She was home. She was loved. She was exactly where she belonged. And that was the only truth that mattered.